Now, Sadiq Khan has claimed lives could have been saved if the government had worked with him more closely during the pandemic. The Mayor of London has been giving evidence to the Covid inquiry today, and I'm joined now by GB News' London reporter Lisa Hartle. Lisa, the London Mayor was putting the boot into Boris and claiming that if it had been down to him, things could have been a lot better off. Does he have a point, or is it a mayoral power grab?
Well, he's told the inquiry today that he felt completely left in the dark at the start of the pandemic. So that's in February and early March. He said he asked repeatedly to attend Cobra meetings so that he could be aware of what was happening. But it wasn't until the 16th of March that he was finally allowed to attend a Cobra meeting. And he said that when he attended this meeting, he felt winded just by learning exactly how dire the situation was. And we've got a clip to play you now of Mr. Khan speaking today at the inquiry.
How many of those around Cobra knew issues around diversity, comorbidity, intergenerational households, overcrowded accommodation? How many people around Cobra knew, for example, in London, there are more people who work on 0 hours contract, work in the gig economy, work in frontline jobs where they can catch this virus? And so my point being is, look, it's horses for courses. In this particular case, I can see no explanation at all why, the GLA, the Mayor of London, we weren't around that table. I think lives could have been saved if we were earlier.
Sadiq Khan said that if he had been allowed to attend Cobra meetings earlier than he did, that he thinks that he would have been able to save more lives. When he was asked why this was, because the powers he has are limited, he said it's because at a Cobra meeting you're able to lobby, and he'd have been able to lobby the government earlier. He said, as it turns out, he was the one lobbying the government to go for a lockdown. He was the one lobbying the government to shut down public transport because people couldn't be safely distanced, and so the virus would spread. He also said that his office had made efforts to make contact with mayors from around the world to be able to see what was going on with the pandemic in other countries before it was coming here. And he said that he was surprised when he spoke to when Mr. Johnson wasn't aware of the fact that lockdowns were in places like Milan, and people were being fined if they weren't adhering to the rules. And he said he was surprised that Mr. Johnson didn't know about this. And he said he feels like the UK missed out on the opportunity to have a view of elsewhere in the world what was happening, and therefore perhaps prepare better over here. We've also heard today from Andy Burnham. He's the Mayor for Greater Manchester. He also said that he repeatedly asked to attend Cobra meetings, but he wasn't invited to a single one. He said that he and other mayors had nowhere to go to voice concerns or to share information, so they resorted to communicating with people through the media. He said that the London-centric decision-making had negative consequences, and an example he gave is that he believes that Manchester was taken out of a lockdown too soon, and that was because Manchester hadn't quite reached the peak that London had, and he said therefore that left Manchester with the higher rates of COVID infection for the rest of 2020. He also said that asking government for financial help and support for people who were self-employed at the time, who needed to self-isolate but couldn't because they needed to go out and work, he said asking for advice on that was like shouting into the abyss. So he's continuing to give evidence now to the inquiry, at the COVID inquiry, and then this afternoon, if there's enough time, because all of these keep running over, we're going to hear from Liverpool's Mayor Steve Rotherham.
OK, Lisa Hartle, thank you for bringing us up to speed.